Calculus. What an incredibly daunting subject. I remember when I was growing up and struggling in my math classes, I used to see calculus as a kind of destination. I saw it as this area of math that was incredibly complex, that I would never reach. That didn't stop when I took Algebra 1, or Algebra 2, or Geometry, or Trig, or even Pre-Calc. Then I registered for my first calculus class at a community college, and frankly, I was scared. I was expecting to be overwhelmed, even though I'd done pretty well in all those high school math classes. But for me, Calculus 1 literally changed my life. It's what convinced me to major in math, because it made me literally fall in love with the subject. And that's why I'm super pumped to bring you this set of tutorials. Because even though I was expecting to be daunted by my Calculus 1 class, I found that it was actually pretty simple if you got the major idea. And obviously there's a lot of different paths of calculus, because there's so many different applications. But in reality, all that calculus is really just a way to answer two main questions. So here are the two main areas of calculus, the two questions. So the first question is, how do you find the slope of a line with only one point? So in algebra, we learned how to solve slopes pretty easily, but we always needed at least 2 points. Remember how to figure out slope in algebra? Yeah, it's rise over run. You find the difference in y between the two different points, and then find the difference in x, and finally take the quotient. Pretty chill, right? But how do you find the slope of a line using only 1 point? You'll find that the answer to this problem has huge applications in the fields of physics and business and economics, not to mention a lot of other places. So I would say that 80% of this class tackles this part of calculus, and the last 20% starts covering the other part of calculus. So the question for part 2 is, how do you find the area under a curve? This question is extremely critical because area can represent so many important things in many types of problems in business, science, and technology. We know how to calculate area in geometry for the basic shapes, circles, rectangles, and triangles, along with a few other things. But in the real world, things are not that ideal. And what you'll find is that all of those shapes that we learn in geometry are just ideal examples of an overarching formula. And at the very end of the class, you'll find that the ways you solve these two questions are actually related. This is called the fundamental theorem of calculus. So that's Calculus 1 for you. I just want to make this video to give you an overview of what we're going to go over in this module. And I also want to mention the source that I'm using for all my Calculus 1 videos. And when I make it to Calculus 2 and eventually Calculus 3, is the same book. It's called Calculus by Soo Tan. So if your class uses this book, that's great, because this is how I'm going to structure the videos. First, I'm going to talk about the main concepts and ideas introduced in each section, introducing any formulas and theorems involved, and then I'm going to tackle each type of problem that will come up in that section. Now, I've taken this class before, and I have a pretty good idea of what you need and what you don't need to know for each exam. I know that it's not necessary to go over all the super complex problems and go around proving all the theorems. As a math nerd, I enjoy doing that, but it's not needed. Now, if you guys request something like that, I would totally do it, but I don't think that's what most of you guys will want. But what if your class doesn't use that book? That's totally fine. I'm ordering the videos by section number, but I'm also listing the topics introduced in each video, and most calculus textbooks are around the same. There might be a few small differences in the content, but all the critical stuff will be there. So you can definitely use these videos to your advantage. I just want to mention that I'm here to help you guys out. Most of you watching are probably students. I'm a student myself. I'm currently a junior in college. I know how exams work. I know how stressful midterms and finals can be. So if you want help with a certain problem, feel free to email the channel email, and I'll be sure to send you a personalized response. Let's start this calculus journey, shall we?